You don't have 5 senses. They lied to you. You have 15. Grab your notepad. You are a spirit. You live in a body, and you have a soul. Until now, they told you that you only exist through your body. They said you have 5 senses: sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. But that was only the surface. It was only the visible, the tangible, the measurable layer. The truth is much deeper than that. You are not just flesh and bone. You have a soul, and that soul can perceive so much more. This video is an invitation to discover the other 10 senses that your mind, soul, and true self possess. Because true transformation begins in the realm of the unseen, in the forces that govern you, but are invisible to the eye. In this video, you won't just gain knowledge, you'll rediscover yourself. You will learn step by step how your mind works, how your emotions guide you, how to shape your will, how your imagination writes reality, and most importantly, how to align with your true self. So you don't have 5 senses, you have 15. And when you learn to reprogram the ones you can't see, you unlock the version of you that was always waiting. Stay until the end, because at the end of this journey you won't just know more, you'll begin to rebuild yourself. And that version of you that has always been there but has remained silent until now, will finally awaken. Before moving on to the video, make sure to write 777 in the comments, because this number is a powerful frequency that helps you resonate with the universe. It's a signal, an intention, a beginning. If you're ready, let's begin. First, you must understand this. Your existence in this world is not limited to what you see, hear, or touch. Reality is not confined to the physical. There is an intelligence at work beyond your senses. Every moment you experience is calling you toward an invisible yet perceptible center. That center is you. But this is not the you that has been told to you up until now. This is the silent yet powerful self that emerges when you are silent, whispers when you feel, and winks when you imagine. What you will discover throughout this video is not new information. It is an old remembrance. Because this truth is already recorded within you. All that remains is to unlock what has been suppressed and remind you of what has been forgotten. This is not a teaching. This is an awakening. And like every awakening, it first brings a shake-up. Because without letting go of the old, there is no room for the new. To do this, you must first understand your system. Human existence consists of 3 parts: body, soul, and spirit. And each of these 3 layers has its own unique senses. We are talking about a consciousness system consisting of 15 senses in total. 5 are physical, 5 are spiritual, 5 are spiritual. These layers are not separate from one another. When one weakens, the others are affected. When one rises, it lifts the others with it. The body is the outward expression of the soul. The soul is the center of the mind, emotions, and will. The spirit is the pure and timeless essence of your being. It resonates directly with the source, the divine. Many people live their entire lives in only the first layer, the body. They live but do not feel. They see but do not understand. They hear but do not listen. Because when the senses operate only in the physical realm, true perception remains very limited. When the spiritual and spiritual senses are silenced, people lose their inner guidance. And this is the most common sleep of the modern world. But awakening begins precisely at this point. By seeing the system as a whole. When you stop thinking of yourself as merely your physical body, a gateway opens in your mind. Your senses sharpen, but this time inwardly. Thoughts become more noticeable. Emotions are felt more deeply. And slowly the spiritual realm begins to whisper to you. Life begins to take shape from within, not from without. That is why what we will do in this video is not just an exploration, it is an alignment. Aligning all 15 senses is awakening to your full potential. This is not about becoming stronger, achieving more, or simply thinking positively. It is about reconnecting with your true self. It is about building a life that is authentic, simple, and in harmony with the divine. To reach this level of awareness, we must start with the foundation layer first, because layers are built on top of each other. If the foundation is not solid, the upper layers will also shake. So let's start with the weakest of the 3, the body, because it is physically limited. So let's start with the weakest of the 3 layers, the body, because the body is limited to the physical world. It wears out over time, gets tired, gets hungry, gets thirsty, gets sick. The things that affect it are mostly external: weather, nutrition, environment, people, even screen light. The body is a layer of existence dependent on external conditions. Its nature is programmed to react. Something happens, and the body reacts to it. And these reactions actually reflect how awake you are on a mental and spiritual level. But for most people, the body is the final point of perception, because the senses operating in this first layer are limited to the physical. The body works with 5 basic senses: sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. These senses were created to make sense of the outside world. With your eyes you see colors, light, and movement. With your ears you hear sounds, tones, and vibrations. With your nose you smell the scent of a place, a person's perfume, or the depth of nature. You distinguish tastes with your tongue and perceive temperature, hardness, or softness through touch. All of these are part of the experience of life, yes, but at the same time, as long as you do not go beyond these 5 senses, true perception always remains limited. These senses are like doors opening onto the world, but each door offers only a glimpse. The real issue is to perceive the depth behind the door. For example, seeing a painting is not just about perceiving colors. Someone with an open spirit can also feel the emotion, intention, and energy carried by that painting. Or hearing a sound is not just about perceiving a vibration measured in decibels. An attentive ear can also hear the intention, sincerity, deception, or love behind the sound. But this requires an awareness beyond physical senses. That is why we start with the body, because without understanding it, you cannot move on to other layers. The body is your vehicle in this world, but who is really sitting at the wheel of this vehicle? Habits, fears, other people's ideas, or your true self? The answer to this question can only be found by observing how your body works. What do you eat? How do you move? What do you touch? What do you watch? What do you listen to? All of these have a direct impact on your mental and spiritual systems, because the body is not just a shell, it is also a reflector. It reflects your inner world. It is a mirror, but if you only look at this mirror from the outside, you cannot see your reflection clearly. While your eyes are focused on the outside, you remain blind to the inside. However, when you begin to consciously observe your body and notice how the 5 senses function, you start to manage and even transform them. Because the senses are not passive, they can be trained, they can be directed, they can be calmed or sharpened. And this takes you to the next level, the spiritual layer. However, before moving on to that, you must master this fundamental area. Notice your senses, observe them. When are they triggered? Which sound disturbs you? Which image captivates you? Which touch takes you back to the past? These questions are the first doors opening to meanings beyond the senses. And these doors begin with the body, but do not end with it. The body is your first window to this world, but awakening begins not just by looking out the window, but by noticing the frame of that window, by understanding where your perspective is shaped, by recognizing the limited reality that the 5 senses offer you. Now begin to consciously observe this first layer, your physical senses, because in the next step, we will see how these boundaries expand and how spiritual senses come into play. But first, you must truly understand where you are, and that place is your body. Now let's talk about the spirit. This is where reprogramming begins, because the spirit contains not only what you feel, but also why you feel it. This layer is beyond physical reactions. It is the center of internal decisions, beliefs, and intentions. When we move to the level of the soul, we are no longer dealing with a body that merely reacts to environmental stimuli, but with a consciousness that makes choices, feels, and imagines. Mind, will, emotions, attachments, and imagination. These are the 5 fundamental senses of the soul. And yes, this also forms the second set of 5, invisible yet effective, silent yet guiding, deep yet accessible senses. First, the mind, that is what you think. The mind is the center that determines your internal frequency. Every thought is a vibration, and this vibration programs your internal system. When you constantly think the same thing, you create a groove in your mind. Over time, this groove turns into a belief. Belief in turn forms the basis of your behavior. So what you think is not just a temporary idea, but also a building block of who you are. Therefore, whatever your mind is filled with, your soul resonates with it. Second comes willpower, the power to take action. Thinking is easy, but taking action requires the true strength of the soul. Willpower is the bridge that transforms mental resolve into physical action. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. The less you use it, the weaker it becomes over time. Spiritual development is not just about what you know, but what you stand for, because decisions are the first step toward transformation. Our third sense is emotions, what you feel. Emotions are the language of the soul. Every emotion carries a message. Some come from the past, some carry clues about the future, but we often suppress or ignore them. Yet suppressing an emotion does not eliminate it, it pushes it deeper, and everything that is suppressed returns in some way. That is why allowing space for your emotions, recognizing them, and being able to manage them brings spiritual balance. When read correctly, emotions are a perfect compass. The fourth area is attachments, where you direct your love, time, and energy. Every soul is attached to something, to a person, a belief, a value, or sometimes to pain. And these commitments either elevate or drain your soul's energy. Knowing what you are committed to is understanding what shapes you. Where you put down roots either nourishes you or rots you. That is why commitment is not just a feeling, but a spiritual orientation. Fifth and finally, imagination, the ability to see the invisible. This is not related to physical sight, but to inner vision. Imagination is the realm where the future is written. First, an image appears in the mind, then an emotion accompanies it, then an intention is formed, and when it is combined with action, reality emerges. A spirit that cannot use its imagination cannot see its own potential, because imagination is the creative center of the soul. With these five senses, the second layer of the system is completed. Mind, will, emotions, attachments, and imagination. When these work together, the spiritual operating system becomes active. Affirmations, intentions, repeated phrases, all these practices are rooted in this layer. Repeating a word is not just done with the mouth. The mind thinks it, the emotion feels it, the imagination brings it to life, the will transforms it into behavior, and commitment turns it into a way of life. This is the foundation of internal reprogramming. That is why the soul layer is the area where transformation begins. Choices become clear, the past is resolved, and the future is shaped. You open yourself to the world with your body, but you turn to yourself with your soul. Before moving on to the spirit layer, you must establish balance here and gain mental clarity and emotional openness. Because if the language of the spirit is silence, the language of the soul is intention, and this intention is the real center that controls your energy. All of these internal perceptions we have mentioned, mind, will, emotions, attachments, and imagination, combine with the five physical senses of the body to create a system of awareness consisting of 10 senses. When they work together, your internal operating system becomes active. The body perceives data from the external world. In the inner world, the soul processes, interprets, and transforms it. You can see a landscape with your eyes, but with your imagination, you can see beyond that landscape. You can hear a word, but with your emotions, you can feel the meaning behind it. You can touch something, but with your attachments, you can define what it creates in you. When physical senses guide spiritual senses, life becomes much more layered and conscious. This system, the mind-body partnership consisting of a total of 10 senses, determines your internal programming. Affirmations work at the heart of this system. They become real not just when you repeat the words, but when they are combined with your feelings. I am enough is a sentence, but when you believe it with your thoughts, support it with your will, feel it with your emotions, bring it to life with your imagination, and turn it into action with your commitments, that's when this sentence becomes more than just a word. It becomes a new reality. This system is your operating system. It runs whatever you load into it. It produces what you have programmed. And if you are not aware, the system falls into the hands of others, society, past traumas, belief patterns, advertisements, authority. But now you are aware. You no longer see only with your eyes, but with your mind. You no longer just hear, but feel. You no longer just survive, but live consciously. A level of consciousness where all 10 senses are active is now accessible to you. This means that it is not who you were in the past, but who you are now, and who you choose to be that matters. And the choice begins here to rewrite your own operating system. Recognizing this central plane of your soul prepares you for the third and highest layer, the spiritual realm. That is where words fall silent and energy speaks. But before you go there, know this: the 5 senses of your body connect you to the world. The 5 senses of your soul connect you to yourself. Now you will connect to the universe through the 5 senses of your spirit. If you are ready, we are now entering the deepest layer, the spirit layer. There, transformation does not just begin, it becomes reality. Now we have arrived at the place where transformation reaches the quantum level, the spiritual realm. This is neither body nor spirit. It is timeless, spaceless, pure existence. It is where words fall silent, where consciousness replaces knowledge, and where intention shapes reality. Here you awaken not only to who you are, but also to what you are. Because the spiritual layer is your direct connection to the divine, to the source, to the essence of the universe. The body connects you to the world, the soul turns you inward, but the spirit connects you to the whole. And this connection works through 5 fundamental spiritual senses: prayer, praise, worship, faith, and meditation. These 5 are now a resonance beyond words. This is pure intention beyond thought. Here it is no longer programming but surrender that begins. And true transformation, not just personal but existential transformation, occurs here. Our first spiritual sense is prayer. Prayer is pure communication directed toward the divine. But it is not a request, it is an expression of truth. Prayer is your effort to touch the source with your purest self, your deepest essence. Here it is not the tone of your voice that matters, but your energy. Every word you say in prayer sends a signal to the conscious field of the universe. And this signal must rise from your heart, not your mind. True prayer is not in words, it is in frequency. Our second sense is praise. This is honoring the existing truth, not only to God but to life, light, awareness, gratitude, and everything else that is worthy of praise. Praise raises your energy because it magnifies what you focus on. Instead of saying, "I want to come out of the darkness," praise means, "I honor the light." And remember, whatever consciousness focuses on, energy flows there. Therefore, praise is not just an outward expression of gratitude, but an internal alignment tool. Our third spiritual sense is worship. Worship is merging with your highest version. It is much more than a ritual performed on your knees. Worship is surrendering to your true self by shedding all identities that limit you. In that moment, there is no past, no future. There is only pure awareness, pure being, and pure love. Worship is opening yourself to the universal order. It does not make you small, on the contrary, it fulfills you. Our fourth sense is faith. Faith is believing without seeking proof. It is knowing without seeing, feeling without hearing, trusting without touching. This is the purest power of the soul because it works where logic is silent. Faith is accepting the support of the unseen. Whenever you face uncertainty in life, that is when faith comes into play. Because faith is taking a step in the dark, not with fear but with inner certainty. And that step always carries you forward. Our fifth and final spiritual sense is meditation. This is pure focus. It is not about silencing the mind. It is about learning to observe it. Meditation is not about suppressing thoughts, but allowing them to come and go. Just like clouds in the sky, thoughts flow and you watch. This state of watching takes you beyond the mind, because you are not your thoughts, you are the awareness that observes them. And it is precisely at this point that the spiritual realm opens up. Silence is no longer emptiness, it becomes the sound of infinity. With these 5 senses, the 15-part system is now complete. You perceive the world with your 5 senses, you manage your inner world with your 5 senses, and you expand into the universal dimension with your 5 senses. The body shows you its limits, your soul shows you your direction. Spirit, on the other hand, reminds you of your infinity. When you reach this level, you understand the difference between being alive and being awake. Instead of living on autopilot, you begin to exist consciously. And when you exist consciously, your thoughts create, your words send vibrations, and your intentions turn into matter. Because the spirit realm is the first layer that shapes everything. Time works differently there. There, creation precedes action. And when you awaken to this realm, you no longer strive to change external reality. Because when you change internally, the external has already changed. So you don't have 5 senses. You have 15. And now you know this. 5 are the physical senses that connect you to the world. 5 are the spiritual senses that direct you to your inner world, and the remaining 5 are the spiritual perceptions that open you to the infinite, to universal reality. When these work together, a fully equipped consciousness system emerges that forms your true being. When you become aware of this system, you no longer just live, but transition into conscious existence. Life ceases to be something given to you from the outside. It becomes a reality you create from within. The secret of this system lies in understanding not only the visible, but also the invisible. You rediscover your soul through your mind, will, emotions, attachments, and imagination. Through prayer, praise, worship, faith, and meditation, you align yourself with the frequency of the Spirit. And when all these come together, you are no longer just a thinking being, but a being guided by consciousness, feeling, intuitively knowing, and managing energy. Because you are not just a body, not just a spirit, but also an energy being connected to universal intelligence. And when you learn to reprogram the ones you can't see, you unlock the version of you that was always waiting. Remember, these senses exist in every human being. The same sacred system operates within everyone, body, soul, and spirit. But very few people are aware of this system and use it consciously. Most people think they see, but in fact they are merely looking. They think they hear, but in fact they are lost in the crowd. They either suppress their thoughts or live enslaved by them. They are swept along by their emotions but do not understand their language. But you are now aware. Your eyes have begun to turn inward. Your intuition is whispering to you. When your mind is silent, your true voice speaks. And this awareness opens a door that is much larger than you imagined. You cannot turn back on this journey, because you can no longer carry your old self. Knowing that you are awake, you cannot sleep again. After seeing the truth, lies cannot satisfy you. Once you have heard the echo of your soul, even silence gains meaning, because you have begun to move from within. And this movement has already begun to transform everything outside. You have changed not only your perspective, but also your energy, your frequency, your field. This is no coincidence. This was your remembrance, and one who remembers can now choose. So what happens now? How can you change this? How do you listen to your body? How do you align your soul? How do you connect with your spirit? Recognizing this system is one thing, but activating it is an entirely different responsibility. Here lies the real question. How can you change this? Where do you begin? The answer is not complex, but it holds depth within its simplicity. To start, you must quiet yourself. You must take time for yourself. Even if it's just 5 minutes a day, you must turn your attention inward. Close your eyes and listen not only to your body, but also to your mind, your emotions, your beliefs, and your intuition. Because transformation begins there, in the unheard. You can start with the words you use. Pay attention to the first sentence you say every morning. It is a seed. That seed either reproduces the old system or marks the beginning of your new reality. Observe your thoughts. Question what you believe in. Notice why you feel a certain emotion. Don't be afraid to dream, because your imagination is the language of your spirit. Pray, but not just to ask for something. Pray to hear the divine voice within you. Give thanks, but not just for what you have, but for what you can still feel, what you can still seek, what you can still ask. Who am I? This is proof that you are still connected. Every step is important. Every awareness creates a new frequency. Every intention is a vibration. Every choice is a new timeline. And with this video, you made a choice. You didn't just listen, you felt. You didn't just receive information, you remembered. And this remembrance will never leave you, because you saw the real you. And that real you will always pull you upward. If this message resonates with your soul, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and write "I'm ready" in the comments. This is not just content, it's a call. And those who hear this call are drawn to the same vibration. They walk the same path, meet in the same consciousness. See you in the next timeline.